afternoon, everyone. Today we'll discuss the difference between a foreign language in a second language and why English is considered a foreign language in Indonesia. This topic often comes up in applied linguistic classes, and it's quite interesting when linked to our education policy. Wahab, could you start by explaining the basic difference between these two?
Yes, of course, Indri. Generally, a French language is a language that is not used for daily communication in the country where for example, in Indonesia we learn English, but we rarely use it for shopping, talking with neighbors, or heading administrative matters. Meanwhile, a second language is one that is actively used in society even though it's not the native language. For instance, in Singapore or Malaysia, English functions as a second language because people use it in schools, workplace, and even at home.
I totally agree, Wahab. As an English teacher in a secondary school, I clearly see this experience in practice. Our students learn English in class, but when the lesson ends, they rarely use it again. It's mostly used for example, speak contrast. In contrast, students in other countries use English daily to watch the news, have discussion, or write reports. So from a social standpoint, English in Indonesia is still a foreign language.
That's right. The history of the English language document also states that since 1897, Indonesia's Ministry of Education and Culture officially designated English as a foreign Indonesian. This decision came after a complex political period when the government wanted to strengthen Bahasa Indonesia as the national language. So, English was positioned only as a tool for international communication, not for daily social use.
Interesting. So, there's a historical and political background behind the decision. But if we look at today's situation, English seems to be used more widely, especially in big cities. Could that change its status into a second language someday?
That's a great question, Indeed. In urban areas like Jakarta, Surabaya, or Bali, we can see people using English in workplace, media, and even public service. But this trend isn't native, but for a language to be considered as second language, it has to be used across all social levels of society, not just among educated people in Indonesia. Most people still use Bahasa Indonesia original language, so English hasn't reached that stage yet.
Adding to that, socioeconomic factors also play a big role. Access to quality English education is mostly available to urban your wealthier family who can afford courses. So even though a small group of people can speak English, overall is not widely used enough to be called a second language.
Exactly, Delfi. In fact, the history of the English language also mentions that social and economic inequality across Indonesian regions has led to huge difference in student English proficiency. Some children in rural areas still struggle with basic Bahasa Indonesia, let alone English. That's why teaching English in elementary school used to be controversial. Some saw it as beneficial, while others thought it was too early and burdensome.
That reminds me of my school days. Many of my classmates found English hard to learn because they didn't hear it at home, but others pick it up quickly from watching English movies. Rahmadi, do you think exposure to media can help people learn English faster?
Definitely, Indri. Exposure through movies, music, and social media provided natural language input for learners. However, that alone isn't enough to make English a second language. What's needed is not just exposure but also consistent, active communication across social situations. If English is only used for entertainment, that's still passive. It becomes a second language only when people use it to interact meaningfully in everyday life.
Yeah, I agree. Moreover, from an economic perspective, English language teaching in Indonesia is part of global big business. Countries like the US, the UK, and Australia profit enormously from selling books, teaching materials, and teacher training programs to other nations. So the position of English as a French language is also a threat to international economic and political dynamic, not just local needs.
That's true, but I see a positive trend. Many young Indonesians are now actively use English on social media, creating bilingual content or joining international online courses. Maybe in 10 or 20 years, English will play a bigger role in Indonesia, though it may still officially remain a foreign language.
This has been such a great discussion. To summarize, first, a foreign language is one of not used in daily communication within a society, and the second is that language is actively used by people talk, not their native tongue. And the third is English is considered a foreign language in Indonesian because it's mainly used for education and international purposes. And the last is historical, political, economic, and social factor all influence this status.
That's a perfect summary, Indri, and we may add that language status can change over time, depending on how the society and government support its use.
Exactly, Madi. Language is alive and always evolving. Perhaps one day English will have a stronger position here. But for now, Bahasa Indonesia remains our unfailing national language, and that's something to be proud of.
Absolutely. English opens the door to the world, but Bahasa Indonesia keeps us connected to our identity, but can coexist harmoniously.
Okay. Well said, everyone. Thank you for your insight. Today's discussion really helped us understand the relationship between language, culture, and education policy. Hopefully, it's useful for all our listeners. I think enough for our group. Thank you for watching.
Sorry.